What's going on? What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday. And I have literal piles of games to get to from Gen Con. I made a lot of connections there, and I feel like every week for the next several weeks, I'm going to be able to bring you a new TCG, whether it be paper or online or other similar strategy games. And we're going to have a lot of fun looking at some other options out there. There's more to trading card games than just Magic, right? And this is a game that I went to Gen Con 2017 with a purpose. I had intended to meet with them, and it was basically on the recommendation of Rudy from Alpha Investments. I checked out the game, and it's pretty rad. And I want to clear up, I was not paid to make this video. Just like in all cases, I bought the stuff with my own money. In their case, they did refund my money. So that was nice, because it's nice if I don't have to pay for review copies. But regardless, it's not going to change my opinion of the game. So this is Corp. And its parallels to Magic are few. I know a lot of you out there are Magic players, and when I look at a new TCG or something, like when I looked at Epic the other week, there's kind of these elements that I'm like, hey, it's like this in Magic, but a little bit different. Well, with Megacorp, I think it's pretty drastically different. You have multiple resource piles. You have a completely different purpose. It's like Magic in that you have things like intro decks, and they actually have, I might be one of the first people here in the United States to actually have a booster box. This is a TCG, so their intent, of course, is to have their cards retain value and have special collectors. Each booster box contains at least one basically super rare. I spent about 2 hours on the phone talking to the creator of this game. The dude is super smart. But the idea of Megacorp is not like Magic, where you have spells and you attack the other person, essentially, the other planeswalker or whatever you want to call it. You actually attack their business, and you can win the game not just by bankrupting their business, but you can buy their business, and you can orphan their business. There are multiple ways to win the game, and there's just a lot to talk about with Megacorp. Now, I don't want to bore you too much, but one thing I can say that I really liked about this game is the fact that it has a really developed lore. I think the lore is often overlooked. And actually, when I went to Gen Con, I met with the lore guy, not, a developer or anything like that. I saved that for the phone. And you basically have the Incarnate, you have Nost, you have Senior Council. Oh, this is the other deck, I'm sorry, and the Glassman. You have these 4 intro decks. Nost, Incarnate, and the other, Founders, I think. No, I can't think of the other one right now. We'll get to it when I look at these. But let's actually look at one of the decks. Here we have a little bit about the Incarnate. Basically, you have people that are corporate, and they sell stocks in themselves, and they can be bought and sold. You have people that integrate their body with cybernetics and kind of DNA modification. And then you have purists, so to speak, where their leaders are super powerful, even though they haven't embraced any of this, their technology or anything else. They end up with like a deity, almost like X-Men, it sounds like. Now, this is like my best interpretation. So you basically have these rich people that use technology. They ingrain cybernetics. you have people that change their DNA, and then you have people that kind of reject that notion, and you have their interactions. And really on the Megacorp website, you can read way more about that. But let's open up Rama, because I mean, I just picked this one randomly. I just picked this one randomly. I don't know. I can't say, I couldn't say why I picked it. I mean, I don't know. This is just random. But they're all kind of the same. These are pre-constructed decks. And for anyone considering this, even though they are selling booster boxes, I would still recommend starting out with, you know, you can pick up these from Megacorp. And actually, when I was at Gen Con, I was told that ARG actually has a lot of their tournament stuff, and they have distribution. I went to the ARG booth, and they had, I saw Megacorp intro decks, and I saw booster packs, and I saw people buying them. So that was really good to see. Each card has, this is one interesting thing. Let's get to this, actually. I'm going to link in the description a bunch of videos where you can actually learn about the specifics of the game, because it's pretty deep. So you have, by the way, fun fact, these are printed, I can't, a little birdie told me that these are printed by the same people that print Magic cards. And I mean, they make the quality is unbelievable. I mean, I actually have some promos that I got going on maybe a couple weeks ago now, and they're not bending at all. Imagine that. Maybe this one a little bit. I just kind of had them in my backpack too, out loose. But these foil promos look pretty spicy. And when we talk about casting costs, each thing has a casting cost or a price. So this is like 3 million. Some things have a cost, but then it also costs 2 of this resource, which is MQ. So you have to pay in MQ and you have to pay in cash in order to cast the Corp Consultant. Here, for example, we have the Horizon Advanced Restraints, $1 million, and no additional casting costs. So you can just purchase this and put it into play. Here we have Prefab Housing, $3 million, and then it has certain abilities. And it has, all cards have these 4 different traits, and not all of them will actually have, this is where it gets a little complex. I don't want to bore you too much with like the specifics, but you can attack with any of these 4, and you can attack a specific any of the other 4. Imagine if Magic cards had, you know, attack. Well, we have IQ, EQ, MQ, and BQ, which is IQ in intelligence quotient. Then you have emotional quotient. You have moral quotient and body quotient. So if we were to, we have our Rama. She's got 2, 2, 2, and 4. So she could attack something that has just, let's say, different, actually, let's use a different example. These 2 cards, right? He has a 3 IQ, and this card has a 1 IQ. So this card, during your attack phase, could attack this card and defeat it. And if you defeat any one of these, basically, it gets discarded and it can actually be purchased. So imagine in Magic if you won a combat phase and then you were able to buy that creature and put it into your hand or onto the battlefield. That's a really interesting, cool dynamic. And you have this little tiny rulebook is very thick, but you have founders, events, equipment, and locations. And then you have, okay, so the Corp is the one I was talking about, Incarnate, and then Nost. You have your resource deck, a main deck, and the business and its founder. So if we look at the backs, we have, oh yeah, these 2 interesting things. I'm not sure how they utilize these. This is actually a scratch-off area. I don't know if it affects the game state or not. I'd have to double check on that. So here we have our resource deck, all the greens, okay? Then we have our main deck. It's blue. I think you get 20 and then 40 in your main deck. And then the red is the business. In this case, it's the Incarnate Collective, which is, this is your business. If your business is destroyed or bought, you lose the game. And you can see it has stats of 10s all the way across the board. And then here's my founder. Seems to be very smart. Here we have Rama. And her abilities are 2s across the board, and then happens to be a 4 in the body. In the body quotient. And you can see she actually has abilities. Annihilate a character you control. Rama regenerates and then gains a body quotient counter. So I assume this is basically like sacrifice a creature you control, and then you can regenerate her and make her even stronger. The interesting thing about this game is the phases are basically the accounting phase, the buy phase, the challenge phase, divest, and then your end turn. Your challenge phase is kind of like combat. Your accounting phase is like your upkeep in Magic, where you would pay any cumulative upkeep, which you would have in this game, and some cards will have that. And then your buy phase is when you have your business generates each turn $10 million. Okay, so you use that to buy cards. For example, like Forest. This costs $4 million. You can put it on to protect. You can invest in that, for example, or you could pay for the iconic Incarnate Neonite, which is just costs $2 million and has these abilities. Basically, I don't want to explain. I keep saying I don't want to bore you, but the game is so different than Magic, in my opinion, even though I spent a lot of time talking to him about his history in Magic and how he grew up playing it, and Vampire the Masquerade and D&D, and how it was difficult to play those things in the Philippines, South Asia area. But you basically build up around your business, and then you can attack the business, you can attack any specific things around the business, or you can buy the business if you're ever in a position for that. And the specifics of these rules are, of course, in each one of these individual decks. And you have basically your discard. Let's say we lost, here's an Incarnate Neonate. It was defeated in combat, so it goes into your open market pile, where it can then be purchased. The top card can be purchased by your opponent, which is pretty awesome. And then it has similar like tap mechanics when you exhaust them, things like that. But what I want to do is just kind of show you the card quality, which turned out really good. A lot of people are asking about, hey, how did this turn out? Because most people only saw the Kickstarter video, which I'm going to actually link on the end of this because I think it does a much better job explaining. But these are all your resources. They do things like create extra cash flow. For example, here we have compulsive consumers. And when you play this, you play it for 0 money. It costs 0 money to play. And it generates 1 million cash flow every turn. So if you have like maybe 3 or 4 of these in play, right? You're starting each turn with 12, in this case, 12 million instead of 10. So you create an advantage over your opponent by generating more cash flow than them, and you can therefore play more expensive stuff, or you can, for example, buy their business eventually. And you have, looks like we have a lot of compulsive consumers, and we have affluent consumers. They generate 1 million cash flow. However, they cost 2 million to buy. So during your purchase phase, your buy phase, you may pay 2 million. Each turn, your revenue actually gets regenerated too. So you have 10 million basically to spend each turn. So you spend 2 million of that, but then next turn, you'll start with 11 million, right? So if we had these 2 in play, now each turn, we would start with 12 million. This is how I understand the game. I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure I'm understanding at least that concept correctly. The website does a much better job explaining it. And then we have basically your main deck here, which is a wide variety of things. It has your characters and events. Here's a stock market crash, permanent event, crisis, financial. At the beginning of each player's A phase, which is the accounting phase, place a crisis counter on the stock market crash. The valuation of every card in play is reduced by the number of crisis counters to a minimum of 0. 3 million, remove a crisis counter from the stock market crash. Any player may activate this ability. So you have tidal wave, and then you have characters in here, and they're the only ones that can really attack. Here we have an event, natural death. I'm in love with how these cards look. Here's a character. Now these are who you attack and block with. Here's Incarnate Hierarch, GMO, Incarnate. I mean, I think these are all fun, these hashtags that they have. I'm not sure how they really relate, but you have event, mutation, because the Incarnates do these mutations to their body, so it's very flavorful. You have this rapid tissue regeneration thing that, you know, is relevant to this particular guild. You also have, here's events. I feel like there's also equipment. I wonder if there's any in this deck. Here's a vehicle, powered armor. They may just call it vehicles. For example, you could put powered armor on any character and buff them up. Now, you'll see that this card has no values here for any of these three, which means it can only be attacked by body quotient. So if they don't have anything with a tougher than 3 body quotient, like it's a great play to make to protect a particular character. Have I bored you enough yet? Have I bored you? What can I say? Look at these. Yeah, these cash cards. So you can actually redeem these on megacorptcg.com. So you scratch them off, and I'm not sure what. Well, why don't we just find out? Oh, it's a QR code. Okay, we'll have to check that out. Their website has a lot of information around the lore and more specifics on how to play. I'm still kind of trying to figure out exactly. It's very different than Magic, but what's cool about it is it's totally different than Magic, right? You have 4 main card types. You have characters, events, equipment, and location. And you have all these different, more complex ways to win the game. And it's just so different than, you know, dinosaurs fighting. I can't say it's better or worse, but what I can say is it's certainly pretty interesting. And if it's something that you wanted to try out, I don't think I would recommend just buying a booster box. That doesn't make sense. What I would do is pick up a couple of the event decks, which I believe ARG carries them. And they are also available from the Megacorp website, which has crazy shipping costs. However, he gave me a promo code that will allow your items to ship for free. So he's still working on some U.S. distribution. So hopefully he'll find some of that. Well, ARG will help, but he needs more than that. But these event decks are self-contained, right? So you can get these, are about 20 bucks each. Get a couple of them and play. And if you've already played Megacorp, you should let me know what you think of it. Again, these are not, there's nothing random about them. So they all contain, you know, pre-built deck, ready to go. 20 bucks, ready to rock. And I don't know which one you'd pick, but, you know, I think obviously Rama, you know, she's got it going on. But I don't know. What do you think about Megacorp? Do you think, you know, I think I'm on record as saying new trading card games, whew, they have a serious uphill battle. But what I like about, why I like Megacorp's chances is because it's so easy for a lot of these games to be like, well, it's basically exactly like Magic, except there's no mana. Or it's exactly like Magic, but ghosts instead of goblins. Like, those games, in my opinion, have no chance. a game that's so different, like Megacorp, I think at least has a puncher's chance of getting a foothold, especially if the secondary market takes off, like with the Final Fantasy TCG. Secondary market did really well, and I think that's what's keeping that game afloat, even though nobody can buy it and nobody's really having much organized play that I can see, although it's increasing. I'd like to take another look back at Final Fantasy TCG, but what I can say about Megacorp, card quality is 10 out of 10. Foiling is incredible. The lore is good. I like the idea of the guilds. I like the idea of having a business battle as opposed to fighting with monsters. Not better or worse, just different. And I wish them the best of luck. So good luck, Megacorp, and I'll be keeping an eye on you.
My name is Marco and I am the creator of the Megacorp trading card game. Most trading card games are either from America or Japan, and so this is actually a bit of a moonshot for us to try to create the first trading card game with its origins in Southeast Asia. Megacorp's story is set in a cyberpunk setting in approximately year 10,000 AD, and the world in which the story is set in is the planet Gaia. And specifically, the player takes the role of a business setting up shop in the island of Auhu, an Australian-sized continent which is a newly made free economic zone. What has happened basically is that this planet was a rediscovered human colony that was in the midst of a terrible world war. And the humans from the old Earth, which are far more technologically advanced basically than their colonist cousins, are now disrupting the economy with their new technology. Three factions of humanity dominate the landscape. The incarnates, they believe in genetic modification and of course freedom of expression. The Corp, they make up 60% of the human race, and each individual is incorporated, meaning they can sell shares in themselves, and some people have no shares in themselves, making them vassals or slaves. And on the other end of the extreme is all the other people that cannot afford genetic modifications or cybernetic enhancements, and of course they join the Nost, which of course make up a large body of poor, disenfranchised individuals, but their leaders of course are very powerful psionic prophets. The player basically must utilize his business and his founder to basically dominate the economy, and the objective of the game is to destroy, buy out, or orphan your opponent's businesses. Megacorp might appeal to players in TCGs that prefer to play control and strategy elements, and one of the unique mechanics is the ability to buy over your opponent's resources that have been engaged. And of course, you can still buy back assets which are the top card of any player's discard pile, allowing lots of dynamic play. And this is very business-like and consistent with the theme, and not only that, because the only real random element in the game is the draw. Megacorp has a highly scalable difficulty level, and new players only take as long as 2 turns to learn how to play the game. In fact, our volunteers learned the game when I went over for the Level Up convention in Las Vegas, and they loved the game so much they flew me over 38 hours halfway around the world to be here in Indianapolis to attend Gen Con 2016.
This game is interesting because it has a lot of interaction between cards.
I am actually liking this Megacorp game because it is different than many of the other card games.
The money system is really cool, and I like the idea of anything that's like
he wants to pick
a different theme than like the typical TCG of just monsters, spells, fantasy setting.
I feel like the game definitely has a lot of technical standpoint. You know, the phases all work really well and they interact with your player.
Interested to see how everything pans out. It looks like the card art could be nice.
It's very simplistic and a lot of fun.
Refreshing to see a game like this enter our market.
Really like the game. I like the theme. I like the really rich in the lore. I like that kind of stuff.
I like how the developers have kind of used the alphabet to help you. You have A, B, C, and D, and E. So it's really easy to kind of learn the game, and I really like the art on it.
We're going to give 20% of the profits of each set of this game directly to the artists which are taking part in the project. That means they have a direct stake in the success of Megacorp. One of the unique elements of Megacorp, of course, is the art style. And if you're so used to seeing art drawn from an American perspective and everybody looks all muscled up and roid rage, and Japanese art which makes everybody a bit disproportional and slightly plastic looking, but nobody is really familiar with a Southeast Asian style. And ironically, this is the region where everybody outsources artists to. So without the binding restrictions of a house style, Megacorp is a good channel for these artists to actually depict characters the way they want them to. And what you have is an aesthetic that actually is a bit of a compromise between the two major dominant styles in the market, and it actually has a bit of a watercolor texture to it, which actually goes for very good collectible cards as well. We have an international team with decades of experience retailing and distributing trading card games and LCGs. We really hope that we can take this a lot further and take it into a commercial TCG, and with your help, that will be possible right now.